Welcome to the show that I have rechristened as Red Dwarf AMP. On Thursday nights, when we have the whole gang together, that's what we're going to talk about. And happily, tonight, we have the whole gang together. It's myself, Stevie J, and my two co-hosts, starting with returning from a bout of COVID, Jonathan Courtwright.
Yay! I'm so happy. I was only gone for 2 minutes, yeah, and I was drinking dog milk.
I think your 2 minutes turned into 2 weeks, turned into 2 months. It feels like it was forever.
Yeah, it was. Hi.
But you're not having any long haul symptoms, as they call them, are you?
The ironic thing is, I'm not the one that got hit hard with it, but it feels like I'm the one that, the last few times I've been at work, I've had, breathing issues, but I think it's finally starting to, leave the system. And I'm like, please, because that's the last thing I want.
Right. Well, you were vaccinated before you got it, so you probably did get a milder case.
Yep. And
All
I'm
right.
glad for that.
And I'm glad for that, too. And I'm sure Jason, a.k.a. the Great Sudoku, is as well.
Androids, everybody needs good androids. Androids have feelings too.
And that's our segue to Season 2, Episode 1, named Kryten, because that's who it's about.
It is about Kryten V1.
Yeah,
Yep.
Well, I prefer to think they're still the same person. He just got a facelift because we saw that he can swap heads. We know that for a fact.
Well, it doesn't help that a certain smeghead who likes curry and stuff is what rebuilt him and kind of screwed him up.
That too.
That's a future episode, folks. We'll get to it.
So we start with the crew of the Jupiter mining ship Red Dwarf in their long and despairing journey back to Earth. Jason, take it away.
We start with Holly's typical thing where he says, we're alone in a godless, uninhabited, hostile, and meaningless universe. Still, you've got to laugh. And then we cut over to the Nova 5, the ship Kryten's on, and we see Kryten. We don't know his name yet. We just see this android sitting watching a television set that has an android soap opera on it.
Mm-hmm. I got the feeling the very first time I watched this as a kid that he was a butler of some kind.
Yes, he looked very much like a butler. He looked like a butler droid.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was funny how they were parodying, I think it was EastEnders, which is a long-running soap opera in England.
Of course they would. I mean, everything in Red Dwarf is basically a parody of European British culture written large in outer space.
Uh-huh. And then we go to our regular crew, and apparently Limmer, yeah, that'd be an episode. Rimmer is watching how to do Esperanto.
Mm-hmm. And Lister is chiding him for it, saying in 10 years he's never learned to speak a single sentence.
And ironically, it's Lister that's doing really well.
Even like Lister and Holly both know more Esperanto than Rimmer does.
I think they've sort of gleaned it by osmosis, just being around Rimmer studying it all the time.
You're about right. And
this is where we find out for the first time, too, that Lister went to art college.
Granted, it was only 79, like 1 hour, but...
Yeah, a few credits at most.
And then he's there, he's I am having a tongue-tied problems tonight.
Tongue-tied.
That's the last episode of the
season. Forgiveness, please. And you see, while Rimmer's trying to woefully learn Esperanto, Lister's owning him on that, and he's also scrubbing down his space bike.
Mm-hmm.
And Just the play between these two on with the Esperanto was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
Holly chimes in to mention that he has decimalized music.
It's going to revolutionize music as we know it.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, wo, bo, ti, do.
This is what a computer with an IQ of 6,000 does when it's bored on a million years journey back to Earth.
bored and going balmy, yeah,
Or going balmy or both.
and losing
Of course, women will have to be banned from playing the cello.
Don't tell
With
that
the
to my
extra
wife.
notes
I
H
don't
and
think
J.
I don't think she'd appreciate that joke. She's at orchestra rehearsal playing cello right now.
Oh boy.
I don't think she'd appreciate having an H and a J added to the scale either.
She could probably find a way to play it knowing her.
And then Holly mentions, we're getting a message.
Aliens!
And Lister's like, what is it with you? It's always aliens. Someone used up all the bog roll the other day. Aliens. You something comes up missing or something falls off the wall. Aliens.
I have to assume bog roll was euphemism for toilet paper.
Yes, that's
Yes,
what
it is.
bog roll is.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and what I've seen of some bog rolls, it's aptly named depending on what's going on. Jeez. Especially if we were behind, Lister eating some curry.
And we have
Yes,
the cat chasing a mouse with a metal pipe.
Mousy, come here. I just want to be friends.
Smash, smash, smash.
Well, one thing to note about this episode is the cat is incredibly horny, which Lister continually tries to explain the cat. There are no female cats for you to mate with. I don't know why you get so excited.
Yeah. And then they get to the...
Well, Holly first informs them that there's a distress call coming from the Nova 5. And in doing so, he also informs them that they've run out of regular milk and that they've been drinking dog's milk.
And Lister's just like, really? And it's like, yeah, the good thing about it is if it goes spoiled,
You can't tell the difference.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of the few times you're like, holy cow, Lister's actually grossed out by something.
Dog's milk lasts longer than any other kind of milk.
Because
Why is
no
that?
one will
Nobody will
drink it.
And he's like, why didn't you say anything before? I didn't want you to ruin your tea.
Didn't want to spoil the tea.
And drops it in the chair. And this is where we also, for the first time for the new season, we see a new location on the ship. Because they actually got a budget of sorts.
Debatable whether we'd call that a budget or not, but yeah.
For a Doctor, considering I've seen some episodes of Doctor Who, they got a budget. And then he's like, okay, Holly, Rimmer was like, okay, play it. And, they have Kryten for the first time we see talking to the crew. And like, the Nova 5 has crashed. All the males died instantly. The female other members of the crew are alive but seriously injured. And here, let me send them their stats. And you see all the stats of the three women, and yes, they're not bad looking.
No, in fact, they're all salivating like dogs. After Pavlov rang the bell, they're like, oh my God, women, we get to bonk.
Yep, and then it's like, we'll be there in 24 hours. And it's like, oh, good. And he leaves, and then 24 hours? I'm first in the shower. And,
We'll rescue these fair blooms, so my name's not Captain A.J. Rimmer. Thank you, Captain.
Oh yeah, this is like the weird.
The that used to clean the gunk out of the chicken soup machine. Actually, we know salt all about space travel, but if you got a blocked nozzle, we're your lads.
And that's the thing that totally flips my lid about this episode is Rimmer is trying to impress women. It's like, what good is that going to do you? You're a hologram. It's not like you can bone anything.
Yeah, but he can still hope. And Cat is like, "Oh, I'm so excited! All 6 of my nipples are tingling." Nice little reminder that yes, he is an evolved cat.
24 hours. First in the shower.
And Rimmer, of course, makes fun of Lister for trying to dress up. He's like, "You're wearing all your least smelly things. That's your shirt with only one stain on it."
Lister goes, "What about you? You look like Clive of India."
And what I thought
Rimmer
was,
comes out in this complete dress uniform.
And the best part is Lister finds a pair of pants with a hole in it, so he grabs a can of black spray paint and sprays his leg where the hole is.
I was like, that's some top-notch improvising there, pal.
Yeah.
I always assumed that was just kind of like spray polish for like black boots that he sprayed on the hole.
I'm not sure what he sprayed on himself, but it was convincing enough that I thought it was spray paint.
It was black and aerosol, and it somewhat covered the hole in his pants.
If you weren't looking right at him, maybe you wouldn't notice.
But it was a funny sight gag nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of episode full of them.
And Rimmer suggests that Lister wear his Dayglow orange moon boots.
What? I thought you said they smelled.
No, they're quite stylish.
You made me put them in the airlock. So they get all ready. They get to go down to get another addition to the ship that we didn't see for previous season. A new. It's not Starbug yet, but it's another. I guess they call it the Hopper. If I remember right.
It was a landing vehicle of some kind. I don't remember the exact name.
Some kind of shuttlecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, "Okay, it's time to leave. We're not waiting on." Because Rimmer's wanting to leave without Cat because Cat's taking forever.
Yeah, he's too busy grooming himself.
And then we also find out this is the first mention that Rimmer mentions of the name Ace too.
Uh-huh.
If it happens to come up, if it happens to be mentioned in casual conversation, be sure to call me Ace.
You could just mention that I was incredibly, incredibly brave, and I've had tons and tons of girlfriends.
In casual conversation.
Yeah, my nickname in school, Ace. They wouldn't. The other kids wouldn't call me it, no matter how many times I let them beat me up. Get out of town. They never called you Ace. They called you Ace Hole, maybe.
Yeah, so many good one-liners in this episode.
The dialogue between those two guys was hilarious.
And Holly spills the beans that Rimmer is stuffing socks down the front of his pants to impress the ladies.
And then,
again, what is the point? He's a freaking hologram.
It's Rimmer. What do you expect? And then Cat finally shows up. He's like, "Aha!" And I'm ready to go.
With a gold, complete with a gold space helmet and a gold shiny spacesuit.
He was like, "Yeah, just make sure that make sure we don't have any mirrors because if I get in front of one, I'm done."
And lo and behold, there is a mirror on the Nova 5 that he walks by, and Lister does need to drag him away from the mirror because he stops.
"I need some help, buddy." Lister drags him by the leg.
Oh, and of course, Rimmer decides he's going to impress the android Kryten and the female crew by speaking Esperanto to everybody.
And one other gag that we've missed, Holly wearing a toupee.
Yes, even Holly dressed up.
Of course, that's not the worst hair job he's going to have soon.
And of course, Rimmer is soon exposed for not knowing anything in Esperanto because Kryten's like, "Oh, you speak Esperanto, Captain." And then he spouts off a whole sentence and Rimmer has no idea what he's saying.
Yep. And it's just like, yeah, he's like, okay, yeah, let's go on. And like, okay, here we are. And they're like, "Ladies, and we find out.
Rimmer like darts around the corridor and goes, "Charmita," and bows, and then raises his head and looks up and sees that they're all dead. They're all skeletons sitting around a table.
Skeletons with hair and clothes on, but skeletons nonetheless.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
And
Kryten is gone. You used the word balmy a little earlier, Jonathan, and Kryten's gone a bit balmy because he's like designed to serve, so he kept
uh
serving these women even though they were dead.
and then we see that scene first. We did miss that part, but because he was telling them, "Ladies, they're in orbit. They're gonna be here soon." Like, Miss Anne, you need to, and puts lipstick on the skull, and then
Hmm.
I think then the other, you
One
need,
of them
yeah,
falls
that's,
right into the soup.
yep. Oh, come on now, and he's like, and the other one's like, you just look ravishing as normal, and that's when you're like, okay, we've got a psycho droid.
Our first contact with intelligent life in 3 million in 2 years, and it's the android version of Norman Bates.
Yeah.
And of course, Lister can't resist rubbing it in at Rimmer's expense. Ladies, I don't know if I've had a chance to tell you, but my mate Arnold here is incredibly, incredibly brave.
Smeg off dog food face. And he's got just tons and tons of girlfriends.
And then Cat's like, okay, we can give him a tit. He's like, no, they're dead, Cat.
And
And then
Kryten does not believe they're dead either.
Kryten comes back and he's like, and they're telling him like, they're dead. Are you sure? Yes, but I was only gone 2 minutes. And then he's like,
They've
are you
been dead
really
for centuries.
And Lister's like, one of my favorite lines. I've seen more meat out of a chicken McNugget. And I'm just like, yeah, Rimmer's getting some of the good ones this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first thing we should do is bury them. You're that sure they're dead? What
And
about
then
this
like,
one?
And that's when you kind of have to start feeling sorry for Kryten.
All right, there's a simple test. All right, girls, hands up. Those of you who are alive. And Kryten's like urging them on to raise their hands. But of course, they're just skeletons and they can't.
See, this is where I have to say, even though the actor who would go on to play Kryten later was well suited for the role, this Kryten was not bad.
Yeah. And you had to feel sorry for him because he's like, but what am I going to do now? I live to serve.
And Rimmer, of course, is delighted to hear that.
Oh, no kidding. And then they go ahead and take him with them back to the dwarf. And he's like, but I really should, I can't, I should stay. But there's nothing else. And Lister is really trying, like, you got to move on, man. It's just, and like I said, they really do have it where you do feel sorry for Kryten because he's like,
Ripper puts Kryten to work. He's peeling potatoes. He's ironing. He's cleaning the hallways. He's cleaning the scutters.
You didn't feel sorry for Kryten for serving 3 female crew who were dead. You feel even more sorry for him serving the hologram who's dead.
And what I think was funny is Rimmer goes ahead and gives Kryten a CVS receipt. I mean, a list of things to do. And he's just working all over the place, scrubbing, like I said, and getting one of the scutters to actually, get cleaned as he has to bop them a minute to work them on. And you finally see where Lister comes back into the bunk area, and you're like, what?
Comes in on his space bike.
And everything is just clean and got curtains.
Yeah, it's like frilly and beautiful. Yeah, it's completely the opposite of his slobby self.
It's tidy and decorated, and there's like trim all over the place.
It's not a rumble, it's a tidy.
Those are your boxer shorts, Mr. David, sir. No way, these are my boxer shorts. These bend.
That is such a disgusting line. That is so awful.
And then he'll be happy they bend because later on he gets something to get. Never mind.
But where is everything? Where's my coffee cup with the mold in it? I threw it away, sir. But I was breeding that mold.
Why? Why would you do that?
I was trying to get him 2 foot high.
Why would
because
you do
it drives Rimmer nuts. And driving Rimmer nuts is what keeps me going.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. David, sir.
And this is where Lister decides, okay, it's time to deprogram Kryten. I can't put up with this.
Yeah.
It's not so much deprogramming, it's just the way that Lister views the world. I think even at some point in the episode, he says, enough of this master-servant crap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like,
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's one, it's his worldview, and two, he feels like he has to liberate Kryten. It's like this guy
yes.
is built to serve, and I won't have that. I'm not having anybody serve anybody.
Uh-huh.
It's like where Rimmer is quite the opposite and kind of sees his pecking order and will obey anybody he sees as superior to him. We see in the very first episode that Lister is quite different and won't even tell the captain where his cat is. Mm-hmm. The captain knows there's somewhere on board. And I do respect you, sir. So that's the difference. It's like Lister just sees people as equal, even androids, because androids have feelings too.
Which was a very clever way to insert that idea into the show. Nice play on the EastEnders parody, getting that into the show.
And then we find out, Lister asks him, there must be something you look forward to, Kryten. Androids. What, that stupid soap opera? Because for half an hour a week, I can forget that I'm me. Androids, and what else do you like? Being asleep. Androids and being asleep sounds like a crazy, fun-packed life you live there, Kryten, me old son.
And then, of course, we get the confession that when he sleeps, he has the most strange dreams about having a garden, and he's the only one there. And he grew everything in the garden all by himself. It's his garden and his alone.
And Lister encourages him to find a planet with an atmosphere and go do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I'm programmed to serve. There's no one to serve, Kryten. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
What about Mr. Arnold and his list of tasks? Arnold's my master now. Mr. Arnold isn't his name. His name's Rimmer or Smeghead or Dinosaur Breath or Molecule Mind. Or on a very rare occasion when you want to be really mega polite, Kryten, we're talking mega polite. In those exceptional circumstances, you can call him asshole. Yes, the season 2 is definitely sandwiched by good episodes.
Yes, the dialogue in this episode in particular, top notch.
The first episode and the last two are pretty good, but season 2 I think as a whole is kind of weak, but this episode is one of the good ones from season 2.
It is. It is so is.
And then we see...
Yeah, go ahead, Jonathan.
I was going to say, then we see Kryten, standing there painting a picture with Rimmer, modeling in full uniform.
Yeah, posing like he's George Washington on the Delaware.
And
Drop dead, Rimmer. Already have done. Encore.
Yeah.
You never get a cat to be a servant. You ever see a cat return a stick? Hey, man, you threw the stick. You go get it yourself. I'm busy. You wanted the stick so bad. Why'd you throw it away in the first place?
Damn straight, Cat. Damn straight.
Whoever wrote for Cat is just brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And Lister is bemoaning the fact that all his attempts to deprogram Kryten have failed. He even took him to the theater to see Rebel Without a Cause, and during the movie, he started shining his lapels.
Mm-hmm. And then he's like, "Okay, sir, I think I'm done." And Rimmer, being very smug, he was like, "Well, there are those who hate to serve, and then there are there are those who command, and there are those who obey the commands. And that's just the light in life."
Yeah, someday, Lister, you'll learn. Someday you'll learn there's an order to things. Some obey and some serve.
And then Rimmer goes to see the picture. We see him, what looks like a really good rendition of him at first, and then it goes down.
Until the camera pans down and you see that he's on the toilet.
Uh-huh.
With sock suspenders.
And Rimmer is aghast. He's like, What? What are you doing? I think I'm rebelling. Rebelling?
What? You are rebelling?
What are you
Yes.
rebelling against? What do you got?
What do you got?
Classic line from James Dean.
Dinosaur breath? Molecule mind? Snake for
Perhaps
brains?
And he takes
Whatever.
this giant pot of soup and just throws it all over
Throws
his
it in
bunk.
River's bunk. It's orange, like bright orange tomato soup, and it stains his entire bunk. I need
mean,
your
it's like,
bike. You got
Need your
it.
bike, man. He's like, you got it, man. And gives him a high five. And then
Flips Rimmer off, swivel on it, punk, and struts out the door.
And then the final scene is you see him getting on the bike and he's wearing leather.
Yes, Kryten is fully liberated. His transformation is complete.
And Cat is enjoying the hell out of it just because Cat is Cat.
This is a great episode in a very weak season.
Well, I won't say it's a very weak season. I know that they were starting to change. They were starting to get things changed a little bit because they were expanding the horizons where it wasn't just on the dwarf proper. So I consider it like a transitional season. So what we're going to see in the insanity that comes in season 3, 4, and 5.
Season 3, first 3 through 6, all 6 episodes in each of those 4 seasons are bangers. Just all of them are great.
I'm up to season 5 or season 4.
See, I think for me, I had the benefit of not knowing they were seasons because Iowa Public Television just ran whatever they had back to back to back. So for me, I didn't think about it like, oh, this is a weak season compared to the last season. I was like, they're going somewhere with this. I'm going to keep watching and find out where they go.
Which is interesting because there are several things that they walk back from season 2 and season 3. We'll get there eventually, though.
Oh yeah, continuity in Red Dwarf.
Yeah, there are several continuity pieces that they put out in season 2 that they said that's not going to work so well. We're going to walk that back for season 3 and do something different.
But you know what? Considering how many times they've traveled through time and traveled to alternate dimensions, you can easily explain away all the incongruity.
I'm not blaming them for it. It was a brilliant move. Season 3 went in a brilliant direction.
I'm not saying I disagree with you at all. I'm just saying this show, more than any, can get away with rewriting itself.
Oh, no kidding. And it just, like I said, I have managed to watch up to, and I'm trying to stop at season 5 right now. So until we get caught up a little bit, but my God, the show gets. Folks, if you haven't watched it yet, and if you're watching as we're doing this as a podcast, just wait. Oh boy.
Yes. The insanity of the middle seasons, as I will call them, is really peak Red Dwarf.
Uh-huh.
Like season 3 up to like everything but like the last 2 episodes of season 7 are just absolute bangers, just one after the other.
Yes, and then when they return to Red Dwarf, that's when it kind of hits the fan.
That was that. Yeah, be interesting to see Jonathan's take on that when we get to season 8.
All I know is I heard that when Kachansky pops up, it supposedly goes downhill, and I'm like, I'll reserve judgment until I get there.
That's another discussion to be had too. There's a discussion about Kryten and there's a discussion about Kachansky.
Well, I can tell you this right now, as of where I'm at, my favorite character of the bunch. I mean, I love all 4 of them, 5 if you count Holly, but Kryten really shines.
Kryten V2, the Robert Llewellyn Kryten.
Yep, and then just seeing some of the stuff that Chris Berry goes through as Rimmer, I'm just like, oh my God.
And like I said, those rare episodes where you can actually sympathize with him, they're a treat. They're really special.
Well, and just that, and just seeing how well Chris Berry does voices and everything else, just all I know is I don't want Mr. Flibble getting cross.
What's really interesting are the rare times that Lister, sympathizes with Rimmer. Those are the really interesting moments in the episodes.
What I love is when they finally show how, Lister might be quote unquote disgusting and a curry obsessed, person, but he's a lot smarter than what people think he is. And just when he does step out of his usual self and he out you know intellects the so-called smarter characters, I'm laughing my butt off.
See,
It
to
just
me, that's kind of like Trent Lane and Daria. They usually portrayed him as being a slacker and not having a care in the world and sleeping all the time. But whenever he gets into an intellectual discussion with the members of Mystic Spiral, he's always smarter than all of his bandmates by leaps and bounds.
hmm and it's hilarious when it's just amazing to see everyone just. I mean, Cat is Cat. I mean, and he gets more and more anti-Rimmer as we go on. And
Who wouldn't?
I know, I don't blame him. It's just, and then I've just, like I said, I've been watching and finally catching up with some of these episodes where I've seen the memes first, and then I finally see stuff with in real what actually it is
Now you're
for
getting
the
the
episode.
context for the memes.
Uh-huh. Especially with Rimmer IQ unknown. That
It would be like
Season
somebody
5,
seeing the
polish it.
potatoes meme without ever having seen The Lord of the Rings.
and I have to say that just seeing Kryten later on, trying to get past his, you know, certain behavior chips where he can't call Rimmer a snakehead. It just,
Sneed.
oh, forget it.
Yeah, that's something they really hammer out through the rest of the seasons is Kryten. Well, at first it's Lister trying to encourage Kryten to break his programming, and then it's Kryten trying to break his programming.
Uh-huh. It's just this whole series. Like I said, the more I've watched of it, I'm like, damn it, why didn't I not watch this back in the day when I had opportunity? Whether I had friends that might have had it on videotape or whatever, or just I'm like, good God, it really one of the best.
Yeah, our PBS station ran this back to back with the young ones.
See, my PBS station never did that. They went from having Doctor Who and Blake Seven to next thing I know, they took that off, and then Sunday nights became britcom night. But it would be Are You Being Served, Keeping Up Appearances. The more, I mean, while they're funny, an awesome series, they're just not Red Dwarf or Young Ones.
At one point, we had an all British sci-fi block on Friday or Saturday night where they would show Doctor Who and Red Dwarf and Blake Seven back to back to back.
Oh,
Wow.
and see, that's how I used to do it. It would be Doctor Who and then Blake Seven, and I watched all of it obviously religiously because that was just. And then on Thursday night they would do like Masterpiece Theater, but before that they would show Faulty Towers, and which is another series I would love to cover when we get there if we can.
I would be more than willing to cover Faulty Towers. I am 100% behind that.
And it just, well, that, and I would love to do Blackadder because Blackadder has some Red Dwarfing ties. But
yeah, we could do Mr. Bean too if you wanted to.
Yeah, we can see about that. Now, Bean, I would have to watch that like literally one episode at a time because I prefer, Edmund Blackadder more than I do Bean. But when I'm in the right mood, Bean is hilarious. It's just, oh, all right. What else can we?
Well, cheap plugs, I think, would be the order of the day. Jason, what do you got?
Very, very niche esoteric YouTube channel called Kazoom, Kozoom, Kozoom, which is very interesting because they upload billiards, but like mostly billiards on tables without pockets, like 3-cushion billiards. There's some balk line, there's some artistic pool. Sometimes they'll show, snooker here or there, or a European 10-ball tournament, but they've got a 24-hour a day, not really a live, it streams, but it's not live. It's content that's, in their back catalog, and then they upload shows from European tournaments. Like they uploaded some, I think, last week or last month or something, but I've been watching those. So 3-cushion billiards is really interesting. I'm getting into that.
A
Babylon
quick
5.
question.
Go ahead.
Before you go on with your plugs, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Do
Okay.
they show that snooker player who had to get drunk to play well?
No, you can go Alex Hurricane Higgins.
Yes, Higgins. That's the one I'm thinking of.
No, that's like back in the '70s. Unfortunately, he is passed now. This is all more recent stuff. And I really don't know what this company does or how they operate. I know they have deals with the sponsors there and they put on tournaments, and I'm thinking that's how they stay afloat. But it's just really neat because you don't see a lot of that from the States. Like you don't see a lot of 9-ball tournaments being uploaded free to YouTube, but you'll see 3-cushion or bulk line or artistic pool or 10-ball on this channel here. So it's a lot of fun to watch. Now the only snooker I've really seen is what they have in world team tournaments, which was something they had set up to try to convince the Olympic Committee to allow Q Sports into the 2024 Olympics.
And I take it they weren't successful.
I don't think so, not yet anyway. They're going to have another one this year too, but I mean that's kind of what they're doing is they're trying to lobby, I guess, the IOC.
Well, good luck.
So Kazoom, K-O-Z-O-O-M. I've been watching Babylon 5, so you can buy that, pirate that, whatever. Bob Saget just passed away. Check out his show called That Shit Ain't Right. That's always fun to watch. Pittsburgh Dad on YouTube because Yinzer Dad. You got to check that out. Jason Brandt, So Bad It's Good on YouTube. Movie, as I said, that's where I found out about Steven Seagal and Rob Van Dam being in a movie together.
Oh my God.
And Special Ops Sniper, I think it's called. And Pat Finnerty, the What Makes This Song Stink channel. So check those out.
All right. I will plug Cathode Ray Dude because he does deep dives into the weirdest tech you've ever seen. Like a camera called the Cool Pix, where the entire camera detaches from the body and plugs into the PCM-CIA slot of a networking computer or a laptop or a tower computer. You can slot the entire camera if you have a card slot on the side. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. So he and Techmoan really get into the esoteric tech, and that's another good recommendation as well. If you love vintage audio or tape formats or tech that's like too far ahead of its time and didn't catch on but was really cool, Techmoan always has that kind of stuff. And sometimes he'll do something really unexpected, like he'll buy 100 mini disc players in bulk lots from Japan, and then he'll go through them all to see which ones work and which ones don't. And he'll even admit, I don't know why anybody would watch this, but I'll do it anyway. And guess what? I watch. All right, let's get some plugs from Mr. Cartwright.
All right. Well, I'll do the obligatory New Japan plug, even though I've not yet gotten back on there. I know that a certain individual has finally left said network for now. But it's best wrestling in Japan that you can buy for 9.99 yen a month, and better than some of the stuff you'll see here in the States. I'm also going to say that I'm found a copy of Ice Pirates, a nice little sci-fi comedy from 1984. And if you want to see a really odd comedy movie that has an Academy Award winner in Angelica Houston in it, along with Ron Perlman in one of his first roles and Robert Urich as one of the leads. It's a banger. I forgot how odd it was. And also, I just want to say, if you are into reading comics and stuff, support your local comic book store or game store if you're into that, and Legendary Comics and Knight at Arms games in Stillwater from me. And that's about all the cheap plugs I can get for now.
And I want to go on one quick rant since you brought up supporting your local comic book store. Please be one of those comic book supporters that reads your comic books. Please don't be one of those people that puts it under glass and takes it to a grading company and has it appraised and puts it in a vault and never touches it. Read your goddamn comics.
No thanks, I'll just eat it here. Shout out to The Simpsons.
Indeed. Thursday Night AMP says, thanks for listening, and we'll talk about more Red Dwarf in 7 days. Bye for now.